been thinking a lot about the way we experience love, not just in romantic relationships, but in family, friendships, and the spaces we spend our lives in. About how some connections feel heavy and anxious, and others feel calm in a way we don't always know how to explain. There's a version of love many of us learned early on, one that feels intense, consuming, and almost urgent, the kind of love that keeps you alert, the kind that makes your heart race not always from joy, but from uncertainty, the kind where you're always wondering where you stand. And for a long time, we're told that feeling is normal, that if love doesn't feel intense, it isn't real, that if it doesn't make you anxious, you must not care enough. But what if that story is incomplete? What if love isn't meant to keep you on edge? What if real love isn't something you survive, but something you rest inside? This video is about emotional safety, not as a concept, but as an experience, because emotionally safe love has a feeling, and once you know it, it's hard to unknow. Most people don't ask whether a relationship feels emotionally safe. They ask things like, do I miss them? Do I think about them a lot? Does it feel exciting? And those questions make sense. But they don't tell the full story, because anxiety can feel like attraction. Uncertainty can feel like chemistry, and intensity can feel like connection even when it's not. Emotionally safe love feels different in your body. It doesn't keep you guessing. It doesn't require constant reassurance. It doesn't make you feel like you have to perform or prove your worth. It feels steady. It feels grounded. It feels like you can exhale. And for many people, that kind of love feels unfamiliar at first. Here's something we don't talk about enough. If you grew up in environments where love was inconsistent, where affection was conditional, where emotions were unpredictable, where you had to be good or useful to be accepted, your nervous system may have learned that love equals tension. So when something feels calm, you might mistake it for boredom. When someone is consistent, you might question their depth. When there's no chaos, you might feel strangely unsettled, not because something is wrong with you, but because your system is adjusting to safety. Emotionally safe love feels calm in your body. It doesn't keep you constantly bracing. You're not always wondering if something is about to change. You're not reading into every silence. You're not mentally preparing for disappointment. For some people, that calm can feel unfamiliar at first, not because something is wrong, but because they're used to relationships that came with tension. So when things feel steady, their mind stays alert, not relaxed. That's not intuition. That's your nervous system adjusting to consistency. Safety doesn't always feel exciting in the beginning. Sometimes it just feels quiet. And that can feel strange when you've spent years surviving emotional noise. But that doesn't mean it isn't real. It means you're learning a new language of love. Emotionally safe love allows you to be human. You don't feel like your bad days make you unlovable. You don't feel like expressing needs will push someone away. You don't feel like silence automatically means abandonment. You're allowed to have boundaries. You're allowed to take space. You're allowed to change your mind. And when conflict happens, because it will, it doesn't turn into emotional punishment. There's no withdrawal of affection. No silent treatment meant to control. No fear that one disagreement could end everything. There's repair. Emotionally safe love isn't the absence of problems. It's the presence of care during them. One of the clearest signs of emotional safety is how you feel after expressing yourself. Do you feel heard even if the answer isn't perfect? Do you feel respected even when there's disagreement? Do you feel calmer instead of more anxious? Safe love doesn't rush you into vulnerability. It doesn't pressure you to open up faster than you're ready. It lets trust build gradually and honors the pace it needs. And this matters because love that moves too fast often skips the parts where safety is built. A lot of people confuse emotional safety with complacency. They worry that if love feels calm, it means it lacks passion. But safety doesn't remove depth, it allows it. When you're not in survival mode, you can be present. When you're not bracing for loss, you can connect. When you're not trying to secure love, you can actually experience it. Emotionally safe love creates space for effort, not pressure-driven effort, but care that's consistent and mutual. Both people show up, both people adjust, both people take responsibility for the emotional environment they're creating. Not perfectly, but consciously. You know, the love that constantly makes you anxious isn't teaching you how to love, it's teaching you how to cope. And coping can feel like connection when you don't know another way. But safe love teaches you something else entirely. It teaches you that you don't have to earn affection, that being chosen doesn't require self-abandonment, that closeness doesn't have to cost you your peace. And once you experience that, your standards begin to change quietly and naturally. You start asking different questions. Not, how do I make this work? But how does this feel to live inside? Emotional safety isn't just about romantic relationships. It shows up everywhere you're expected to be yourself. In your family, in friendships, in work environments, in spaces where your voice matters. Emotionally safe relationships are the ones where you don't feel like love, belonging, or respect can be taken away the moment you disappoint someone. Sometimes, we don't even realize how unsafe we've been feeling because we've normalized it. We tell ourselves things like, this is just how relationships are. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I expect too much. So we stay quiet. We adjust. We shrink parts of ourselves just enough to keep the peace. And over time, we confuse endurance with love. But emotional safety isn't about never having conflict. It's about knowing that when conflict shows up, you won't be punished for being honest. It's knowing that your feelings won't be used against you later. That vulnerability won't turn into ammunition. That you don't have to rehearse conversations in your head before speaking. A lot of people don't realize how much energy they spend bracing themselves emotionally, waiting for a tone shift, over-analyzing a text message, trying to read between the lines to stay one step ahead of disappointment. That constant alertness is exhausting. And when your nervous system lives there long enough, you start mistaking calm for boredom, because chaos is what you've learned to recognize. Emotional safety often shows up in ways we don't always notice. It feels like exhaling without realizing you were holding your breath. It looks like being able to say, today is hard, without feeling like you're asking for too much. It sounds like someone responding with curiosity instead of defensiveness, with effort instead of avoidance, with care instead of control. And this doesn't only apply to romantic relationships. It applies to friendships, where you're allowed to change, to family dynamics where love doesn't come with conditions, to spaces where you don't have to perform to belong. Sometimes the work isn't finding better people. It's unlearning the belief that love must come with anxiety attached, because love that requires you to constantly prove your worth will eventually teach you to abandon yourself. And real effort, the kind that builds safety, isn't dramatic. It's consistent. It's listening even when it's uncomfortable. It's choosing repair instead of ego. It's making room instead of keeping score. If this is the first time you're really thinking about emotional safety, that's okay. Awareness always comes before change. You don't need to have all the answers yet. You just need to notice how your body feels. In the presence of certain people, calm is information. Tension is information. Your nervous system keeps receipts, even when your mind makes excuses. And you're allowed to want relationships of every kind that feel steady, not stressful, supportive, not draining, human, not performative, where you're allowed to have a different opinion, where you can express discomfort without being labeled difficult, where your boundaries aren't treated as rejection. Emotional safety is what allows connection to deepen instead of harden. Without it, relationships don't feel like support. They feel like something you have to manage. And when safety is missing, people don't become distant because they don't care. They become distant because staying present feels emotionally risky. If you're realizing that past relationships felt intense but not safe, be gentle with yourself. Many of us learned love through survival before we learned it through care. That doesn't mean you chose wrong on purpose. It means you were doing the best you could with what you understood then. Awareness is not a punishment, it's an invitation to choose differently, to value peace alongside passion, to let love be something that supports your life, not destabilizes it. And if emotional safety feels unfamiliar to you right now, that's okay too. You don't need to rush into redefining everything. You don't need to have perfect clarity. Just start noticing. How does your body feel around certain people? Do you feel more yourself or less? More settled or more alert? Those answers matter more than chemistry alone. If something in this video resonated with you, take a moment and notice what stood out, not to judge it, just to acknowledge it. And if you want to explore the inner foundation that makes emotionally safe love possible, I recommend watching my previous video on self-compassion over pressure. It's linked on the screen and in the description. They build on each other. If you'd like more conversations like this, support the channel by liking this video and subscribing. We're learning how to experience love without anxiety, and that journey starts with safety. I'll see you in the next video.